Caitlin Clark. Making her fourth All-Star appearance and leading the league in steals.
Just 6 words. That was enough for Caitlin Clark to shake up the entire basketball scene. Was this an accidental slip or a smart play that showed everyone who really runs things? The internet went crazy. Stories changed direction. And the WNBA, always careful with its public image, suddenly found itself watching a rising star change the game on her own terms. This is not drama. This is planning. This is influence. And things are just getting started. Plum speaks out. Clark builds her legacy. Let's go back to July 2025 in Indianapolis. The WNBA All-Star Weekend was meant to showcase the best of women's basketball.
Ready for the culmination of what has been a wonderful celebration all weekend long.
Gamebridge Fieldhouse was filled with almost 17,000 excited fans. The atmosphere was buzzing and the league's top players had come together to deliver an amazing performance. But underneath all the excitement and impressive plays, something was developing that would grab attention for many weeks ahead. The athletes had planned a strong message before the game started. Everyone wore black shirts with the words written on them. Pay us what you owe us while warming up. This was not about style. This was about standing up. The WNBA's contract deal was going to end in October, and the athletes were pushing for what they deserved.
The expiration of the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement and tensions are running high.
Right now, WNBA players earn about 9% of what the league makes, which is very different from NBA players who take home 50%. A lot of these athletes need to compete in other countries when the season ends just to pay their bills. The point was obvious, together, and important. But then Kelsey Plum spoke up and the whole situation music turned around. Plum, who plays guard for the Los Angeles Sparks and serves as vice president of the Women's National Basketball Players Association.
Kelsey Plum to the Sparks. This was the first trade in the league history, and Kelsey Plum heads to LA with the 9th overall pick.
She was at the press conference after the game sitting beside New York Liberty player Sabrina Ionescu. The cameras were recording, journalists were paying attention, and Plum chose to say something that nobody had even brought up. While talking about the matching shirt demonstration, she mentioned the t-shirt Just United Front was decided this morning that we held a meeting for. And listen, I don't want to gossip, but 0 people from Team Clark showed up for that.
You know, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The room became completely quiet for a second. Sabrina, seated right beside her, could not control her response. She rolled her eyes and shot back with sarcasm that really had to be brought up.
We had a very, that really needed to be mentioned.
Right in that instant, you could tell from Ionescu's music expression she was uncomfortable. She understood perfectly what Plum had just started, and it was not positive. What should have been a celebration of players standing together and asking for better pay had just gotten sidetracked by what looked like a cheap shot at the league's most famous player.
The brightest stars in the game, Caitlin Clark going toe-to-toe with the biggest women's basketball star.
Caitlin Clark, who was not even present that day. This is where background information becomes important. Caitlin Clark missed that meeting, and she was not participating in the All-Star game because she was healing from a groin injury. She had been managing this problem since the middle of July and was at home focusing on her recovery.
Caitlin Clark will miss tonight's Fever game against the Sparks with a groin issue.
The suggestion that she was intentionally avoiding player activism or failing to support her colleagues was not only incorrect, it was offensive. Clark had been crucial in generating record-breaking attention for the WNBA. After she joined, television viewership had shot through the roof. Products were selling out rapidly. Ticket costs were going up. Financial expansion fees had increased from $50 million to $250 million almost instantly. She was the main reason the league could now push for improved contracts to begin with.
Here comes Clark. This is one thing you get with Clark is great pace and great passes. Found Boston perfectly.
But there was Plum in front of everyone in the basketball community, implying that Clark and her group were not truly committed to the movement. The response was immediate and harsh. The internet went wild. Supporters labeled Plum envious, small-minded, and foolish. Sports commentators joined in with Colin Cowherd criticizing Plum for attacking the single player who elevated the WNBA from economy flights to luxury travel. The numbers speak for themselves. After Clark joined, TV viewership has increased. Products are selling out quickly. Ticket costs are rising rapidly.
WNBA is out with new TV viewership numbers. It's been the most watched in the league's history.
And expansion fees have jumped from $50 million to $250 million almost immediately. She represents the league's strongest negotiating tool in pay discussions. Still, Plum decided to publicly criticize the WNBA's most important player. Timing and approach. Caitlin Clark said nothing. No post online, no public comment, not one word defending herself. While the internet fought on her side and opinion articles discussed veteran jealousy toward newcomers, Clark continued her routine. She allowed the chaos to unfold around her while staying completely strategically silent. This was not fear. It was planned control. Clark recognized something Plum missed. Sometimes staying quiet is the strongest reply. Sometimes you allow your achievements and impact to speak instead. And when the right time comes, when the ideal chance shows up, that is when you make your move. This is strategic thinking, not simple reactions. Clark was thinking several steps forward while everyone else was still processing.
Decades, the best get-ahead passer, and her three-point shot.
Supporters stood up for her online, commentators discussed Plum's remark, and social media buzzed with anger. But Clark concentrated on what was important: healing, getting ready, and growing her brand piece by piece. Responding right away would have appeared weak. It would have confirmed the criticism and given Plum's comments more attention. Instead, she held back, allowed the negative reaction to work for her. Let other people control the story. Colin Cowherd criticized Plum on live television. Social media destroyed the reasoning behind targeting the league's main attraction. Sabrina Ionescu's eye roll turned into the famous moment that shaped the discussion. And then, exactly when the right time came, Clark made her move. It happened just one day after. Kelsey Plum shared on Instagram commemorating All-Star Weekend with a basic message, "What a weekend!" along with pictures of her happy with teammates at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. But Clark spotted something Plum missed: a huge Nike logo showing in the shot. Plum does not represent Nike. She moved to Under Armour in 2022, launching her own WNBA design. Clark, on the other hand, is Nike elite in the league, signed to a multi-million-dollar sponsorship contract.
Wall Street Journal reports the basketball superstar is about to sign a Nike endorsement deal worth $28 million.
She was not going to ignore that mistake. Her reply contained 6 words. "Thank you for the Nike ad." No exclamation marks, no symbols, no hostility, just a perfectly sharp, ideally timed comment made with the easy assurance of someone who understands her own strength. The internet went crazy. Pictures filled everyone's feeds. Supporters described it petty, some called it brilliant. Sports websites and shows analyzed every detail. With 6 words, Clark had shown everyone her power, her marketing superiority, and her knowledge of the financial aspect of the sport, something Plum, even after years in the league, had not understood. The genius was in the meaning. On top, it seemed like fun irony, but underneath, it was tactical, a quiet but clear signal of Clark's standing as the league's most valuable marketing figure. And Plum had accidentally given her an ideal opening, and Clark executed a winning move. It was exact, clever, and light-hearted. It was not mean, just incredibly successful. Clark did not need to mention accomplishments, viewership, influence, or money brought in. The 6 words handled it for her. Plum became quiet. No reply, no explanation, no justification. Time went by, and the situation continued while the internet examined every detail. Plum realized she had been beaten. Any answer would only make things look worse. And in that instant, Caitlin Clark showed the world who actually has the influence in women's basketball. Not with statements, media events, or talks, but with proper timing, planning, and confidence. Clark was not just an athlete competing. She was an example of power and management. She showed that being the best in the WNBA is not only counted in scoring, passing, or amazing plays. It is counted in recognizing the situation, understanding the atmosphere, and knowing when to act, and just as crucially, when music, to remain quiet. With 6 basic words, Clark showed that the direction of the league is not just about sports ability. It is about smarts, composure, and complete mastery of both the sport and the environment surrounding it. Caitlin Clark did not just answer. She showed everyone that in this time of women's basketball, influence is gained, timing matters most, and sometimes being quiet says more than any words. The influence of one athlete. It was not until the middle of August, almost a full month afterward, that Plum actually talked about the situation in public. She joined Sue Bird's podcast, Bird's Eye View, and took back her statements with what can only be called fixing the problem. "Oh, I made a terrible joke," Plum confessed. "I made a truly terrible joke."
Oh, I made a bad joke.
Yeah.
I made a really bad joke. Tough one.
"I honestly thought, hey, Team Clark, they missed the meeting as well, just joking around, trying to lighten things up. I was joking that they were tired from partying, even though our team name was hung over. So, I said, at least we showed up." She continued to say that she wished the remark had not taken focus away from the actual topic, which was player pay music, in the coming CBA talks. She stressed that all the athletes were together, that everyone put on the shirts, and that she never wanted it to turn into a story about Caitlin Clark against the experienced players. What this whole situation showed goes way past two athletes trading clever comments on social media. It uncovered the challenging situations happening in the WNBA currently. A league seeing incredible expansion thanks mostly to one athlete's massive fame, while experienced players who have been working hard in relative silence for years see the environment changing around them. Make no doubt, the expansion is genuine and it is life-changing. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, the WNBA was dealing with audience numbers that made important games seem unimportant. Stadiums were barely filled. Press attention was tiny. The league was dropping about $40 million every year. Even with the amazing skills shown, then Clark arrived and everything transformed almost right away. Television audience doubled, tripled, and sometimes became 4 times larger. Her Indiana Fever matches became essential viewing. Products featuring her name and number disappeared from stores quicker than shops could refill. Ticket values jumped.
Caitlin Clark in town, more than $2 million in tickets were sold. That's an all-time WNBA record.
All of a sudden, regular sports watchers who had never cleared throat seen a WNBA game before were watching to understand what everyone was excited about. Expansion costs shot up to $250 million as business people recognized genuine money-making opportunity for the first time in the league's 28-year existence. For experienced players like Kelsey Plum, who had earned 2 WNBA titles with the Las Vegas Aces and completed years of top-level performance, this change must have been hard to witness. Plum is an outstanding athlete herself, scoring over 20 points each game for the Sparks. She is a past #1 overall selection who has been an all-star many occasions.
Kelsey had a big game. Team had a big, dominating game over Caitlin's.
Supporters will be watching closely, wondering if there is additional fire when these two compete. Will Plum guard Clark with music, championship-level toughness like she did at the All-Star game? Will Clark try harder to score big against Plum particularly, proving a point on the floor instead of with online replies? Or will both athletes approach it professionally, playing it like any regular game, while the press and supporters frantically look for conflict that does not actually exist? The reality is, both athletes are too intelligent and too dedicated to winning to allow this distraction mess up their seasons. Clark is working to bring the Fever to the playoffs and show she is not just a regular season success. Plum is working to help transform the Sparks into title challengers after leaving Vegas. And neither can let personal emotions affect team achievement. What makes this situation so interesting is that it shows a shift in generations happening right now. The experienced players are being required to make room with a new celebrity who showed up with more excitement, more income, and more focus than anyone who arrived previously. That is uncomfortable. It builds natural conflict. But it also opens chances for development for the league and for separate athletes. If managed right, this could turn into one of those famous competitions that people recall for years. Bird against Magic, Jordan against everyone, LeBron against the world.
Is Mr. Magic Johnson, your friend, versus Mr. Larry Bird simply the best player rivalry of all time?
Clark against Plum could be the competition that represents this period of women's basketball, and the battle that drives both athletes to excellence while offering supporters interesting